And thank you for joining us for another exciting industry event here at Noman. My name is Kirill Tokarev. I am Noman's Marketing and Industry Relations Director, and I will be your host today. We first would like to thank our sponsors at Dell and NVIDIA. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring you the amazing content we're about to show you. For all the new updates about Noman, make sure to check out our website and subscribe to our amazing newsletter. Today, we honored to welcome 3D character artist Jay Hill, who will provide advice about key elements of strong visual presentation. Jay has over 15 years of experience in game industry, having worked on Apex Legends, Titanfall 2, Evolve, and Back 4 Blood. He has over 40,000 subscribers on ArtStation and Instagram, and 190,000 subscribers on YouTube. So he knows something about visual presentation for sure. Jay will also be doing a portfolio review after the event, so please make sure to prepare your works ahead of time. And if you're willing to do a tour of Noman, the tours will also be available after the show. With that out of the way, please welcome Jay Hill.
Hello, thank you. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you to Noman for having me. So let's talk about sharing your work and standing out online. All right? It's 2009, and I just graduated from the Art Institute of Orange County, and I got a bachelor's in game art design, whatever that means. And I made this hot new website, which I made with HTML, and I'm still proud of that today. And I got some shiny new characters, and I just graduated, and I wanted to get a job, so I went to the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. That's a photo from back. That's how big photos were, I guess, back then. That's pretty small. So yeah, my new degree, I went out there, and at the Game Developers Conference, there's a lot of things, but there was also, at least back then, there was this career pavilion. And that's where the different studios were. And I thought I would go there, I would wait in line, I would show them my portfolio, and then I would get a job, probably. But that didn't work out. But I got some great advice. So I brought my portfolio, and I got to meet with the pro after waiting in line for a long time. He just like flipped through my book super fast. I was like, oh my God. You know, stuff that took me like 2 months. It was just like, whoosh. And then he stopped on this one, and he said, this is pretty cool. You should make more like this. And this is essentially the impetus of what I'm going to be talking about today, because this still sticks in my head today because of all the things that this thing wasn't. I made this little sketch thing as something to add to my portfolio, and it wasn't a full character. It wasn't production ready. It was just a floating head. You know, it was just like a ZBrush screenshot. So I thought it was like the lowest tier thing, but for whatever reason, he responded well to this. So there was 2 full characters that I did that were in Unreal Engine. And the fact that he was like, hey, this is pretty cool, I thought, huh. And so still today now, I feel like this is what truly matters. To me, it's not about just the technical prowess. I know we're at school and we're learning. It's good to learn all that stuff, and it's crucial. But really, it's the artistic thing about it, whatever it makes the person feel about it, became more important than the actual technical thing. So I still do this today. That the only thing that matters, I think, the most important thing is just to make cool stuff, and everything else kind of comes secondary. Like you can learn on the job, really. At least get better at the job. Like I've worked with amazingly talented people like Stephen Oakley, who's a concept artist for Creatures, and he would just use pencil and paper. You know, like we know Simon Lee uses clay. So it really isn't about the specific technical things. If someone's really good at the artistic part, if you get really good at the artistic part, the showmanship part, like the drama part, that's what's hard to teach. And so I think that's what is worth focusing on. So still today, now, all these years later, like more than half of my portfolio are these personal projects that I do. They're not production ready. I just do them for fun, to learn stuff, to play with new software. And that has gotten me the most attention still. So that same thing that happened all those years ago from a pro is still true today. That now, because I have a job, I get some actual production-ready things in there, which is crucial to have some of. But yeah, another one is I made this Hansa thing that was not at all production-ready, and I got hit up, people from the game industry, talking about opportunities to work at a game studio from something that is not a game character at all. And that's really when it clicked for me that it's really just about making cool stuff that people can connect with. All right, so the goal when we're posting online, when we want visibility, I think it's worth clarifying that, because it's not just like, hey, let's just make a bunch of numbers. I think it's worth talking about. So the goal when I post online, when I'm sharing work, or when I'm making work to share, is to get the maximum amount of quality views. You know, depends on what you're doing. Some people are just trying to get the most views possible, like if you're trying to make money off ads or something, but that's not what we're trying to do. And if someone doesn't want to see the type of nerdy stuff that I like to make, then that's fine. I just want to do what I can to reach as many people that would actually like the kind of thing that I do. I also want to grow my skills every time, not only in the project that I'm doing, but grow my skills in terms of presentation, in terms of reaching those people. You know, I'm iterating on that too. And then also to create opportunities, which are these unforeseen things. At least that's how I think about it. I'm just trying to do this same thing every time, and maybe opportunities will happen. It's how I'm here talking to you right now, and I definitely didn't plan for that. But these type of things just happen. They just open up the more that, you know, I make work and I share it. All right, so the big question today, how to make art that stands out and gets attention. So here's a little brief roadmap of the talking points I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about skills, we're going to talk about portfolio, social media, networking, and then we'll end with some awesome examples. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. I thought I would color code these too, so it's easier to look, and I didn't know what colors to do, so I just did Power Ranger colors. All right, so here is another thing I want to touch on, okay? Today's challenges. I brought up my story, started 15 years ago, and things are a little bit different today. So I thought it'd be good to at least take a snapshot of what we're talking about today. So today's challenges, at least how I see them, you know, if I were in your shoes, I think competition is at an all-time high, not only because of the digital age, tools becoming more and more accessible, which is a good thing, I think, but also the industry's going through something. When a lot of layoffs happen, you get a lot of talented people out there. And then in general, I think just there's more visibility on this stuff. Like, it is cool, obviously. We all think it's cool. That's why we're here. And I think more and more people think it's cool. So you get increased competition. You get the audience expectations have gone up. Like, even, you know, today in movies, when people talk about the movies, like, we all know the lingo. We know how things are made. And we're just all a little bit more geeky about everything. And so you can't really just do tropes and stuff, you know. People can be bored at things that used to be amazing. So that's kind of increasing too. So we have kind of a higher expectations. And then artificial intelligence, you know, like images and videos made by AI are flooding the internet, and the total impact that AI is going to have on a lot of the creative jobs and things that we're after, nobody knows. And so that causes some anxiety too. So these are the biggest challenges, I think, today when you're trying to stand out, when you're trying to break in. And to put it simply, I think the one thing to stay true or to use, like, to me, the cure is authenticity. I think that's something that is easier said. We're going to talk a little bit about it. I don't want to go too deep on just like defining authenticity, although I am going to put a definition up on there, like I am going to do that. But I just want to talk about it for a little bit because I do think it's important. And when I roll back when I was like 21, I don't know if I was authentic or not, but I think we all know it when we see it. I think we all today engage with that sort of thing. Like, if we're going to watch a video, I mean, think about why podcasts are huge now. And like mainstream media, everyone's like, this is weird, because everyone's like pretending to be something. Like, we don't like that. Nobody likes that. And I think when you're an artist, you should be authentic all the time. That's what you should strive to do. So I think it not only helps differentiate yourself, there's a lot of competition. What do you do? How do you stand out? Well, if you can be authentic to yourself, you're naturally going to have a unique point of view instead of trying to be like someone else. It's easier said than done. When I was younger, it's a lot more cloudy, so a lot of people may not know what it is, and that's fine. You're going to figure it out by trying a bunch of stuff. But in general, I think just trying to look inwards is something that a lot of people aren't that used to doing, at least when I teach people. If you're not used to doing art all the time, you kind of think like, what should I do? What am I supposed to do? And actually, you should just try to follow your heart, kind of, trust your gut. Try to think, what do I like? That's actually the answer. Okay? So the authenticity is going to become your brand. It gives you that competitive advantage because, again, that's you. No one else is going to be exactly like you. It would help you connect with like a true audience. Again, having that meaningful views. If you put yourself out there genuinely, then you're going to get genuine stuff back. And the more you build a portfolio that way, the more you build a body of work that way, it attracts relationships and opportunities that are aligned to you. So you're not just pretending to do something. Okay? So developing an authentic voice is going to help you stand apart, and it'll allow you to make better art. And I think it'll let you know, hey, what do I do next? It's actually whatever you're passionate about right now. Okay, so skills. That was fast. Skills. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about what I think studios are actually looking for. They're looking for a technical skills, but also that artistic vision I was talking about. Technical skills can be taught, and we do teach them. I still don't think people teach Perforce in school and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things that we teach on the job, and at least in character art, it's common, like if we see a junior that has a solid grasp of fundamentals, they can do anatomy, they can do faces, they can do hair or something, then you're like, okay, I can teach them topology, I can teach UV mapping, that's not a big deal. So I think, again, stressing the artistic vision part, but this is what people are looking for, is a blend. Problem solving is another big part of the job. That's like, in terms of art too, and what we do in 3D, I'm sure you all recognize that problem solving is good. So I think demonstrating that, this goes with showcasing your work, showing behind the scenes, maybe even taking on projects that are a little bit more tricky or interesting, so that angle kind of helps showcase that too, that it's not just straightforward, that you're problem solving and doing new and unique things. Adaptability is big in the job, and I think that can be shown by just doing things, and you guys are probably naturally doing that now, like new tools that come out, Blender stuff, Unreal Engine stuff. Just if you're doing kind of newer things and experimenting, that's going to naturally come along too. It's just being open to that stuff. And then eventually a culture fit, which would be like, interviews and stuff. But I put it on here too because I think you do kind of get a sense of someone if they are building a body of work authentically. Then I feel like just by looking at someone's work, I can kind of get a sense of, at least I know, like, oh, this person's cool, or they like this, or they like that. That kind of comes along when you choose to do fan art or something. You're obviously a fan of that. So it's another way to connect and to kind of showcase your personality and your interests. All right, what to learn. Fundamentals is what I would underscore. We're going to talk about some other things later. Fundamentals take a long time to build. I'm still working on it now, so it's just going to be, you're doing that forever. But things like sculpting, texturing, anatomy, composition, those are the building blocks of everything. And I put that first, and I'm underlining it now because the reason why it's so important, and people stress that, because it's a little bit boring of a word, I think, or at least when I sit down to practice. Practicing anatomy doesn't sound the snazziest. But if you have weak fundamentals, nothing else will save that. That's why it's so important. So you do need to build that. That's what you're kind of doing now, and you're going to keep doing that. And then everything else is kind of the cherry on top. So you can't like overshadow bad anatomy or anything, and obviously you need that. So that's something you want to focus on each time you do something. And then another thing is the mindset of starting strong and finishing stronger. So from this is why I recommend to everyone to choose concept art if they're a 3D modeler that's already strong to begin with. At least for a lot of them. Some people are so passionate about doing their own characters, doing their own designs, and that's fine, because I do want people to do what they want, what they're passionate about. That's how they're going to, finish projects and make more stuff. But if you start from something that's already strong, then you have potential of making it even stronger. And on the job, that's the mindset that we all try to have and cultivate too. Is like, I'm gonna strive to make 3D models that are even cooler than the concept art somehow. Even if it's a little bit, or at least try to stay true to that vision. All right, and then skills versus exposure is this thing when you're thinking about learning. It's that how much do I choose? How much do I focus on like fundamentals, and how much am I just kind of chasing a trend or something now? And I think a balance is good when you're trying to get attention. Trends can be helpful, but don't overlook the fundamental part. So that's the fundamentals. That's the growing. And something else that I think is important is branching outside of a discipline. I'm a modeler, and back then, 15 years ago, it was more common to be a specialist like that. Epic Games was one of the things I was looking up to, and the VFX modelers, and those, at least in the VFX industry, still a lot of them specialize, and Epic Games still specializes, even on Fortnite. Modelers don't texture their work. But that's pretty uncommon now, and in small companies, you're going to do a lot more. And when it comes to making your own personal projects and everything, why not? The more you know, the better. And so just for fun, I started growing and learning things too, just as a fan, like learning different software, Unreal Engine. Obviously, I do use that for work, but it's like I have this crazy tool in front of me that I use for work, and I don't get to do animation. I don't get to do rendering or whatever. So I think today, it makes so much sense to just start with that mindset of being more of a generalist, quote unquote. That's what we used to say. It's just someone that isn't trying to specialize that much. Because if you're just trying to focus on making really cool stuff that people can connect with, then yeah, you shouldn't limit yourself to any kind of focus. That's my view. And like ILM even put out a video on their YouTube channel saying like, we need more generalists. Like, there's so many jobs now that use like Unreal Engine for a volume, and if they want to say like, hey, can you just make a crate for the background? They don't want to have to go through some pipeline, like ancient pipeline. And we see now just more people at home can make things that look like used to be TV shows, and teams are doing them, right? We're seeing games be made by single people. We're seeing animations made by single people, and that's obviously the future. And I think that's how we should think about things. All right, the portfolio. Maybe we could talk a little bit about portfolio strategy, at least how I see it. So this goes with social media kind of things too, but quality over quantity in portfolios, this is paramount. Most of my portfolio feedback to people is to remove things. I spoke about it earlier about getting started and everything. There is a urge to have an awesome portfolio as soon as possible, and the truth is it does take time to build a really strong one, and as you build it, you can let your weaker stuff go. So especially in these first few years, like something you make 3 years later is going to totally eclipse like your early stuff. And not every project you do has to go in your portfolio. That's not what it's for. Your portfolio is for your absolute best work, so that you can show companies and they're like, hey, we want more of that. It's not a place to just post your work in progress. You can have a blog for that. You can do all kinds of other stuff. To me, the portfolio, I would rather have like 1 to 2 strong works than those same works with like 8 mediocre ones. So I think just streamline it. I would target a specific role when people ask, what do I make? There's so many different things you can make. If you're conflicted about what you're really, really interested in, then sit down and have a think of like, what would be my dream job right now? What is it? And then try to get as specific as you can to that role. It could be something that came out. It doesn't have to be realistic. It just helps you get a focused, narrow target, and that can answer questions like the style, the genre, the engine maybe, the workflow, and you like literally are trying to do something that could fit in there. So that really helps give you guidance on a project. And then the more you do that, by the way, just your portfolio will naturally just become, oh yeah, it's all the things I'm interested in, And then yeah, presentation matters. We're gonna show a couple examples about that, but obviously good lighting, cinematic renders, breakdowns, those are things that can help elevate static things and 3D models and small projects into something bigger and more valuable or grandiose to people. All right. Oh, and yeah, your portfolio will be your brand. Again, this is like a natural thing that happens, and the strength of a brand, the strength of a portfolio, it does take time, and that's okay. That's part of it, because the more time, the more you're consistently doing that, just the stronger that brand becomes. It becomes more solid to people, that it's not a fleeting thing, that it's like, oh, this person's been doing this for a long time. This is obviously what they do. All right, so presentation. Let's talk about some effective presentation notes here. So I like to say never not posed, although don't snoop around on my portfolio and find the ones that aren't posed. But yeah, that's what I tell people. Always pose your stuff. We're talking about characters now, but even if you're doing props or environments, the idea is to try to turn something into a moment, turn something into something that can evoke an emotional response in people. That's obviously so much stronger, so much more memorable, and it takes our stuff from props and objects to real things, or maybe it feels like a still from a movie or a game, and that's the thing we want to do ultimately. So if we can create that even in a small way, that's how we make our work stand out and be like, make an impression on people. It makes it more memorable. And it's for fun, that's what we should do. So sometimes I catch modelers just doing default poses. That's why I put this here. I don't think you should ever do anything that's not posed. If you're gonna spend 50 hours, 100 hours on a project, just go the extra mile and do some cool stuff with it. I think Noman's great about that, so I don't think you guys are in danger of doing that, but to me that's number one. Make it cinematic. I think especially those first images in portfolios or in presentations, I like to make kind of an array, and that first one, that like kind of beauty one or that cover one, I think you can be a lot more dramatic. Modelers have an inclination to just show everything because they spend so much time on it, but making something dramatic, doing a pose, using like cinematic language like lens artifacts and stuff, it just can create an image that again draws upon our shared experience, that makes it look so much more epic and valuable. And again, I think that's more important than just showing a static model, which you can do in your showcase. And video, for the last couple years and like just going in the future, I think video should be a part of every presentation. It's the most engaging form of content. It's everywhere. Every platform supports it. They make it easy for you. There's no reason not to do that. If you're making something 3D, that's how you can show that something's 3D. So it's another pillar that I make sure it has to have video. It's also something that's a little bit harder for AI to fake. When it comes to like images of 3D models and stuff, it's closer, and I'm sure video will do it, but at least for now, that's another way where if you just turn your model, you get that parallax 3D sensation. And yeah, so I make sure you always have to have video. All right. Okay, yeah, so I was just showing this. I like to think about the viewer's experience. This will loop in a second. So when I'm putting together a presentation, after my project's done, like I kind of put a new hat on and like, how do I show this? I'm often thinking about what experience the viewer would go through. And I think about that with the videos I make too. So I think it's just a good mindset to have. So it starts with the thumbnail, like, what do I want to make? It has to work as a thumbnail. And then when they click the thumbnail, what happens? And so there's, I have several examples in there where I don't even, the thumbnail goes to something that's not exactly the thumbnail because I think it's a little bit more jarring, and I like to show more, so that's what this example is doing. So it's a close-up, and then when they click in, it's a bigger character, and it's like, oh, it's more. So I try to make it clickable, and then I try to over-deliver, and I do that with videos too. And again, just thinking about the viewer's experience is going to help. That's something that just people overlook. And you see I have a YouTube video that has the behind the scenes that I'm sharing like how I did it, and I'm doing video turns, and I'm doing props, and so I'm trying to over deliver, and that's how it'll keep people on the page, which is good for trending. It makes it more shareable, and honestly, like part of the thing that we're fighting that I'm sure we can all relate to as viewers ourselves is, first of all, if you don't get the click, they're never gonna see your stuff. And then once you click in, it could be like really fast. They look at it and then kind of in a second, they make up their mind whether or not they want to keep watching or keep looking at your stuff. And if you want people to look, again, we're spending hundreds of hours on this stuff, and it was like 2 a.m. and we're like scratching up a leather gauntlet or something. If we want people to engage, we have to pull them in, we have to keep them there, because everyone's attention is super short. So these are some of the things that I'm thinking about and I'm trying to do. And yeah, so you saw in there, you saw turn images, which again are good. They help you be 3D, but nothing beats video. So video is the best. And that's what I think you should always, at least a turn. And we're gonna look at some awesome examples here by other artists that are taking it to another level, which again, I think is the future. So these are just some basic turns. Again, I think it's easy nowadays to do them, so you should do them. And then here's kind of a little vignette, which I think is even better than a turn. And I did turns with this too, but doing a vignette, again, makes it feel like maybe it's a clip from a cinematic or something, and it makes it more engaging, and makes it and it's more fun. Again, you're trying to you don't need the whole team to make the things that we like anymore, and you should try to do that, and you'll learn stuff, and it makes me better at my job, communicating with other people, that I know a little bit more about how things work, with the engine, so I can have a discussion and everything. Because this is using Niagara, and it's using some camera effects and animation, rigging, and all that stuff. And then here's just kind of an idle. Again, more dynamic, because with ArtStation, you can just post a looping 4K video. Why not do that? That's obviously better than just an image. And this is fan art too. I don't know if I'm really gonna talk about that, but that's kind of a type of thing you can do, personal work. You can do original characters, you can do fan art, and so this and this next one are both fan art. And that's good. People do that in other industries too. They jump on trends, which I did for the whole cover image for this talk is a cyberpunk, which I timed with the release of the game, whenever that was, years ago. Because I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I think it worked. But I like doing everything, and I think if I could do original characters, that'd be great too. So anyways, this is Anatar. And I feel like the people my goal with this, I know one Lord of the Rings nerd in here, but when I made this, I was like, I just hope this freaking image finds its way into one of those nerdy lore videos on YouTube. Did you guys watch that? So I was like, and someone sent me a video, and they used this for when they talked about Anatar, and I was like, yes, dude. So anyways, here's another one. This is my Flex character, which was an original character, and this one, yeah, this one's good. For me, this is cool because this was a relatively easy project, I guess. It took a couple weeks, and I just made it up. And so what I do, and you saw the other ones, what I do is I also record the process, which helps me too, actually, having that data. People will record their games and stuff, having playback. It's actually kind of useful. And I just store all the video, and then I'll make a video of a making of. I love making ofs, and that's what I like to do with projects too. So I make these making of videos, and then I edit them, and then I post them at the same time. So you can see that's the video underneath her. So I've done that for the last handful of projects, and I'm gonna keep doing that for my big projects. I just like doing that, and I publish them at the same time, and I link them together. So it's for different people. Anyways, this one is crazy to think that this one's got over 2 million views now on YouTube, which is pretty weird. I don't know why that's the case. But if I didn't share it, then that wouldn't happen. And again, remember my goal is just to if anyone's interested in this stuff, I want them to see it. And so the more I keep doing this, sometimes it works out. All right, thumbnails. I'm going to talk about thumbnails for a sec. I think especially us CG artists don't think about this, and because I also make YouTube videos, I think about it a little bit too much. So when I say thumbnails, what do you guys think of? That, right? This is what you guys should make. No, I'm just kidding. But I do think you should think about thumbnails. So I feel like I think about thumbnails more than at least the people I talk to, at least my students, and then other artists. Even on ArtStation, if you post on ArtStation, it says hey, you want to crop your image and I'll make one for you? I never do that. That's crazy to me. Because even the fact that he would even do it and the pixels aren't going to be sharp, it drives me crazy. So yeah, I make my own. They're 300 by 300. I try multiple ones. You can see here's some examples of like the flex one. I put Unreal Engine 5 because that was trendy at the time. I made her in Unreal Engine 5. I put that there. I don't know. The yellow one, I tried multiple versions of that cyberpunk girl, and to me the yellow background one popped. None of my images are her colored like that with the yellow background. That's just for the thumbnail. Same with the Nima one, the pink skin one. Same with the blue background. So I'm actually just not even using the same image anymore. I'm just doing what would look good on the grid. And I'll show some examples. And that's what I would make my thumbnail. It needs to work very small like this. And then again, when they click in, hopefully I can over deliver, or I can kind of do something that juxtaposes the thumbnail that's also cool, that kind of just snaps them out of bouncing around. All right, here's some stuff on thumbnails. Oh, I didn't write my notes, but there you go. Clickable, readable. That's kind of what we're talking about. Colorful, like I said, I use bright colors. And the readability is big. A lot of times, especially character artists, they crop it, they don't crop in enough. Again, because we have this impulse to show everything, and you can just crop in. You make it look good in a close-up. I try to make images look good very close, and that also work big. So it's kind of two different images. Now, iconic might be another way to say that. I'm trying to make little icons. So you can see here, like here's a cropped in close-up. This is just a cropped in version of this final render, and then I'm kind of editing it to make it brighter, and then I'm lightening up even more. Like I wouldn't do, and I do this with the YouTube videos too, I would not do this on a full beauty like 4K. Like I make some images that I hope people click and they actually do like the actual resolution, you know what I'm saying, where it's like huge, and I think about what that would look like. When I'm doing thumbnails, like I make them bright, I make them colorful, I make them really crunchy and sharp, because I just want it to pop and look clickable. And here is that custom thumbnail example. So you see here's the yellow background, and then when you click it, she's blue now. So that's not what the thumbnail was. And then you see the darker full color one. Now I thought that the like normal colored one with a black background just wouldn't be as good of a thumbnail. And I have no way of testing that. That's just what I thought. So I did the bright yellow background so it would stand out. And also people would know, like, that's the cyberpunk yellow, you know. And I just thought the dark one works better, big, but not as a thumbnail. All right. So another thing that I'll do in some projects is I'll test out my thumbnails on the grid. So I'll just take a screenshot of ArtStation Trending, and I'll just try different thumbnails and different crops. Like, will this stand out? You know, will this be clickable? And again, not that hard to do, but I think, yeah, I'll go to any lengths, and I think anybody should do that too. I also mock up my portfolio this way sometimes. So you can see I made this a couple years ago. I don't think I'm gonna do those characters, but here you can see the final thumbnail and how I mocked it up. And then I think about the future characters just related to the rest of the characters I have, you know, like, maybe I did too many women, or maybe I need hair, or, you know, I want to do sci-fi, I want to do fantasy, whatever it is. I just try to see how it balances out as a whole, and I mock it up. And these are like the concepts of the things that I want to make. All right, so maybe briefly about publishing. This is primarily for ArtStation, but you could, I do think this same way on YouTube, and I guess you could on Instagram too if you were into that. But ArtStation Trending, that's what it's all about. When you're trying to get discovery, like I said, if I want the most people to see it as possible, that's where I'm trying to get. Tens of thousands, maybe more people check out ArtStation in our industries. They check out ArtStation in the morning. You know, they'll come into work, and they'll get a coffee, and they'll drag their feet, at least when we used to go to the studios. That's what we did. And then so you just like look at ArtStation Trending, and you drink your coffee, and you like, you know, barely read your emails. And so I'm trying to get my work, when I publish it, on those first 2 rows above the marketplace. And now I've done it long enough where I have enough followers that I guess get a notification, and so they'll come, and I'll post it on my Discord and everything, because the way trending works on ArtStation is, it's the amount of views relative to the amount of time. I don't know, they don't talk about the algorithm. I don't know if they're calculating like time on the website or whatever, but just the more people that view it in a shorter amount of time, the higher it will go. And once it's up there, then people will see it, right? They go to the page, they scroll a little bit, and they leave. So if you can get your work up there, that's the goal. But getting your first or second work, I have people, they have really strong debuts, but it's really hard to get on trending if you're out of nowhere. So it does take a few before you have enough followers for that to happen, or at least a venue to post. But ArtStation Trending is what we're trying to get to. So I factor in a few things. Like I said, how I message out and everything. I also get my whole presentation ready, and I don't publish it until the time. So you can see this website, ArtStationFollow.com, made this nice graph. I have no idea. They didn't mention what time zone this is, so I'm just guessing. But this kind of corroborated what I already thought. This is what I do. I try to post in the mornings, early mornings on the West Coast, to catch people on the East Coast coming into work. Okay, so I'll post like 5 a.m., 5 or 6 a.m. on the West Coast. And I like to do Tuesdays because I have a fear, as a superstition, that there's going to be one of those coordinated posts, and I feel like those would happen on a Monday. Every time that happens, I feel bad for everybody that posted that day. I'm like, damn, dude, they just get buried by, like here's GTA 6 or whatever. I mean, they're not going to be able to. God rest their souls. But the people that get to share their work, they'll do a coordinated thing. And so, anyway, it's kind of a superstition. I'll do Tuesday. To me, Tuesday is the beginning of the week if you're doing personal work, and I'll post it there. All right. Again, the idea is just the most eyeballs, I guess, right? So, social media, I'll briefly talk about. And I'm talking about these three right here. This is what I think of as social media. This is all I really care about. And I'll give the three primary things I think about when it comes to social media. So when I'm posting, this is work to ArtStation or YouTube or Instagram. If I just want to make a valuable post. Remember we talked about quality over quantity. I think I want to make something that either entertains somebody or can educate them, and the best is if you can do both. So that already would eliminate some things. Some people just like, here's a quick, and that's not either of these things. I think the thing is, if you're doing quality over quantity, then to make it high quality feeling for someone else, it has to feel valuable. Now, if you have something entertaining, you're like, oh, this is funny, this is cool, and you share it. And if it's educational, you're like, oh, this is pretty good, I could use this. Maybe you save it, maybe you share it. So I'm trying to make at least something like that, so it's more than just, a fleeting image, right? Hopefully it can be more than that, and it would get more engagement, and it would just be better. If I'm going to make something, might as well. So yeah, again, quality over quantity. And I think for art, like you'll hear people say post every day. You'll hear, and that comes with like Instagram, they would say that. Sometimes YouTube, they used to say that. Anyways, these stuff change a lot. I don't really follow those trends. I used to think I should. Now I don't think that. And really, I think in what we do, in art and like the visual creative medium, like quality really is what's most important. Like think about what we talked about when we talk about portfolios. I would rather have someone that has 2 super strong works than like, oh, they're posting a portfolio piece every week. That's not good. So if you're in different industries where it's all about like stealing people's attention and selling them ads or something, like maybe, but that's not what we're doing. We're trying to show our best work, and so quality is really all that matters. And I used to post like 1 or 2 things a year, so that's totally fine. All right, and then my last thing is work in public. So about what we just said, hey, if you post once or twice a year, maybe it's not the best for the algorithms or whatever, right? Maybe people forget about you, or they didn't have enough touch points to associate your name with the other things you're doing, so it'd be good to be more active. And also, we want to be a member of the community, like a valuable member of the community. That would get relationships that way. It'd be more copacetic. And so you can give back by just sharing what you're doing. If you found a tip, boom, like you have a work in progress. And so now you can post more than once or twice a year, even if you're doing these big projects. And so you're kind of letting people in on the process. Those people that engage at that stuff are going to be more quality and like genuine with the interest that you're doing, because they're like, oh man, I do that too. And it's going to be very niche, obviously. But that's kind of what I think is like, if you work in public, you show people this is what I'm doing. It's a little bit more vulnerable. You get a little bit of social pressure that way. Like, oh, if I just stop, it's going to be pretty awkward, you know? That kind of thing. So that's what I would recommend if people at all like want to post and be a member of the community online, then maybe, you know, that's the way to do it. And then it can crescendo with like, hey, I finally finished, and you move on to the next one. And then, you know, you can use metrics and stuff with social media. I don't think like at my level it gets big enough where that's a problem, but I think it's interesting to see metrics. I don't obsess over them, but I think it's interesting to see. Like that Flex one I showed where I got a lot of views. I don't exactly know why, but I think it was good feedback for me. I was like, oh, I made up a character and people responded, well, that's good, I should do more of that. So that's what I mean, is that, you know, you don't need to let it like make your decisions for you, but I think it's useful that you get feedback and you're not just in a cave. All right, now all this stuff I talked about, it got pretty nerdy there with posting schedules. So I want to say, all of this, take it with a grain of salt, because it's really the most important thing here is to create sort of an engine, is kind of what I call it, like the things that you're doing, you know, just a small list of priorities that you're doing and each time, and you just keep doing it. Because consistency is really the differentiator here. Here's a clip I recorded when my YouTube channel, you know, eventually got to 100K. You can see when I started, it was in 2010, and you can see the blue line, how it's flat for a long time. I think this is kind of a good general, this is kind of what it is. Like, I am slow, for sure. You can aspire to be faster than me at all this stuff I'm talking about. I do take my sweet time, but I do think that the things we talked about, like your brand or your reputation and your quality of work, like for those to be real and solid, it takes years. And so if you're doing it, the longer you're doing it, it just pays dividends and it gets better and better. So that's the thing, is it's not about like, how do I make a portfolio in 6 months? It's more like, how do I choose projects that I'm passionate about and do them and grow each time and post online and keep doing that for the foreseeable future. All right, so let me briefly talk about networking. I like to say authentic networking, because when I was in school and I had a speaker come in, I was so terrible at that. I mean, some of you have said hi to me. Thank you for that. And I just don't, that's not my strength, is like networking. But I can't just talk to people. It took me a long time to change it in my mind, because yeah, they were like, you know, go to mixers and trying to give people your business card and everything. It was terrible. It was like, you know, like speed dating or something. So it was super weird and inauthentic. And so for me now, I think looking back, the best things that have happened is you just meet people that are into the same stuff as you, and you can talk about that, and it can be genuine. Like I said at the beginning, like if you can just be genuine and authentic in everything that you do, that's what's going to be real anyways, and that would lead to actual meaningful relationships. Okay, so it's not like sweet talk this guy so you get a job. Like, that's super weird. That's not at all what would happen. And yeah, so you can see here, just engage in the community and with other people and have real conversations, and that's going to lead to good things. Being active online, you know, we have communities like on Discord nowadays, and we have Instagram obviously, and so you can like comment on people's work and help them in Discords and get on, like some people get on the voice chats and build stuff together. It's awesome. So just being really engaged, I think, is good motivator. It's good to be a part of it, and again, it can like stick you there, and you guys can look out for each other. And yeah, be curious online. Again, not just being promotional, you know, going on there and asking questions, and that's been really good to me. You know, the more I do this, the more I can just literally reach out and ask somebody a question, and they'll answer, and that's so great, and we can just talk about it, because after a while now, having a body of work, again, it's like a reputation where I can say, hey, how'd you do this render? And if they look at my work, they're like, oh yeah, he does stuff. Okay, cool. And then we can just talk, because we have things in common. All right. And then, yeah, this can be online or in person. Noman's great about having in-person things. One of the few things that I come to that's still in person out here. but this goes for both, and I think engaging in both is obviously important. All right, so let's take a look at some dope artwork and presentations that are not me, that are some really cool standout stuff. I saved these from ArtStation, so this worked just like I said. I'm the one that was going on ArtStation, and I was like, dang, this is sick, and I would save it, and I reached out to almost everybody here separately, and this is just in a saved collection I have. I just pulled some. So it's just to like end on a good note and for some inspiration and motivation and everything. Here's one by Siu Romeo. Oh, Luke Reed Siu Romeo. I just love this one, how it starts slow. You're like, oh, it's kind of a subtle turn. And then it's like crazy animation. And I think it just does such a good job of elevating this character. Anytime it's like this, it feels like it could be a main menu in a video game. And I just think that elevates it literally to like industry quality level, you know, just in people's minds. So I think that's awesome. Here's one by Greg Strangis. We were working together when he put this out. I was like, dude, when were you doing this, man? I know you're doing this. So yeah, this is on a metahuman rig. And I'm just pulling one example. You can see all their work on their post. Their presentations are great, but I'm just pulling one example from each. But yeah, he did like facial expressions, and it's fiber hair, and it's great. And this became quickly his most, you know, engaged with and viewed portfolio piece. And you can see why. This one's great by Weston Reed. I got to chat with him about this. I was like, dude, anytime I see 3D models that look like concept art, I just love that. So I contacted him. I was like, dude, what? And he actually, I didn't show it here, but he actually put it in the Sketchfab viewer, which you can do. And that's so great for stylized work because you don't need good rendering. It just needs to, it's just unlit. So, you know, on his ArtStation, you can just orbit around his character while it's moving around. It's such a really cool, great, engaging experience. And the quality is like the same that he made it. So I think that's a good use case for it too. Speaking of Weston, I loved this one. It's a nice little animation. Again, look how it comes to life. So cool. And this person, Luis Alfonso Fernandez, did this while being a student under Weston. So Weston was mentoring multiple people doing this sort of unlit painterly style. And I just remember thinking like, oh, this is like a cool bust. And then just this, so much personality. Yeah, I just think it's so great. And this is what I think the future of just all posts. This is what I strive for anyway, this is what I'm thinking about. It's another epic one from Pablo Rybalchenko. So sick. There's like this is like very cinematic. It's like super widescreen too. And there's like, it's like breathing. And there's a perfect loop in here. So you can just be mesmerized and look forever at this cool character. Here's another one from a previous student, actually, Andre here. He did it, I think, was he in group 1 or 2? But yeah, he posted this in group 3. Oh, how'd you know? Are you here? Oh, you're in the class. Okay, great. Yeah, group 3. And like more power to him. He actually did another sketch for the little competition we did, and he went over and above in there too. I try to convince everybody in my class that I ran to do a bust for the 8 weeks. I was like, dude, just do a bust. Like a full character in 8 weeks is crazy. And I just, for minutes, like 10 minutes, I was trying to talk people out of this. And he did a full character with animations and effects and everything, so really great. He didn't listen to me, which is great. This is another awesome one. I love this one by Victor here. I think that smoke opening is so sick, and yeah, the vibe of this is awesome. This one's rendered in Blender, so sick. Yeah, what a great presentation for a character. Just having a video game idol, I think, is enough. And now with Mixamo and auto rigging, I mean, literally, this is like, anybody could do this now. Yeah. Here's this one more from Simon Sobolev, which I think is super sick, and it's in Unreal Engine. Like the sky behind him is a custom blueprint he made to open, and yeah, it's got kind of Mouth of Sauron vibes, and it's really cool. It's got cloth simulation. So anyways, I think these are really great, engaging, captivating examples of like, you click a thumbnail and you see this, you're like, oh, damn. And so that's what I would strive to do. All right, so to recap, the things I think that are most important for people that are building a body of work and sharing it online, trying to get visibility, is to build fundamentals now and forever. Make sure you're always focusing on that, not trying to kind of overshadow that with anything else. curate your portfolio intentionally. Think about the kinds of thing you want to be doing forever. What are you most passionate about? You know, try to come with the answers internally and make things authentically. And that's going to lead to things that are just a lot more aligned with you. It's going to be higher quality, and you're going to be able to finish projects. Build real relationships, even if that's online, and you know, become a part of this community and go back and forth and help others, and just stay consistent in what you're doing and keep learning. And you do this for a long enough time, and I think good things will happen. And maybe the most important thing is just make cool stuff. That's, if you're going to just do one thing, just make cool stuff. And again, I think good things will happen. I like to end on, speaking of that, I like to end with a quote. I do this one at the first week of my class too. I love this quote by Steve Martin. Be so good they can't ignore you. I think that's great because it's so easy to remember. It's so simple, hard to do. But people ask, this pops in my head when people ask about like, what should I make and how do I get a job and how do I break in? And this, again, easier said than done, but this is what trumps all. You know, the people that are so good, those are the people that will end up getting those very limited roles that'll, you know, good things will happen. So I think just focusing on doing the best you can consistently for a long enough time is the best thing to do. And that's it from my talk.
Thank you so much. It's time for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please ask them. I also want to remind you that we're going to have portfolio reviews after this. Plus, there are people outside. If you want to do a tour of campus at Millman, you can do that as well. Please ask your questions. Raise your hands so I can see. Okay.
Did it work?
Testing? Okay, there we go. Super inspiring. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Yeah, for sure.
As you were talking about putting together the thumbnails, the YouTube videos, doing the screen recordings of your process, the behind the scenes, I was just curious, how long do you spend on, okay, artwork is complete, I am satisfied with the end result, now I'm going to spend time making sure that the presentation is good? Like what's the ratio of time spent?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's different per project. But when I edit my own videos, I still edit those making of videos myself, and those could take weeks, yeah. So there's probably been times like maybe that Flex one, if it took me 2 weeks to make the artwork, it may have taken me 2 weeks or more to make the video. That's the thing that takes the longest. And then for doing projects that don't have a video like YouTube video along with it, I would still spend days. Yeah, there was a commission work of Gal Gadot, and that was just, you know, they just paid me to make her head model with some hair, but then I made like groom hair and I posed her, and I spent way more time on the presentation than what they paid me to do.
So when you were timing out the artwork that went along with Cyberpunk, did you factor that in? You're like, okay, I know this is coming out now, I want to have this posted by then, I know it's going to take me at least 2 weeks just to edit the video, so that's like completely factored in?
Yeah, for that one, that one's kind of unique. I guess for that one, I think I just made like a time lapse with music of the footage, and then I put out the kind of making of video a couple weeks later. I think that's how that one went. And then maybe I replaced it on the ArtStation page later. But yeah, that one was kind of a mad dash. Again, that was me trying to do the like trend jacking thing where I post on the day it comes out. So I actually had a deadline. I don't like to normally do that. And so yeah, it was kind of a scramble to do that one. Normally I just keep cooking on it until I'm happy with it. But yeah, that one I didn't do a YouTube video. The project was enough on that one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for sharing. I pretty much have the same question. So I guess when I start to sculpt my character, I spend like days or weeks, I just got lost in the times. So, do you have any suggestions? So, how long for a full body like character when when work as students?
How long it takes?
Yeah, how long it takes?
Again, I'm pretty slow, but I do like small, the shortest thing I do, like head sculpting studies, probably around 6-ish hours, and that's the sketch quality, I guess. But the big projects we're looking at there, like everything on my portfolio probably took at least 2 weeks, so probably 30 hours on the low end, I guess. And then the big ones are like 100 hours plus. Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. But recording all the footage, it's kind of a pain for me to find out, but you can add up all the footage and find out. But it was a big number, so I don't do that to myself anymore. But it's a lot.
Right. Because sometimes I kind of want to like push myself, to
Yeah.
finish the character maybe in a week or two, try to do more practice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing is with the studies, I try to go fast to get faster because I am slow. And I jump around. I do a lot of different things. So like if you're doing the same thing over and over again and practicing that for a while, you can get faster at that. But if I put it down for like 6 months and I do rendering or whatever and I come back, it's like, oh yeah, I got to warm up again. But those are the smaller studies. I don't post those on my portfolio. I've thought like once I get like 50 or something, maybe I'll just make one post that just has them all. But yeah, the finished, like the highest quality work, I don't put a deadline typically. But for the speed work, I do. It's like just as an exercise. I try to limit myself to 2 days. It's like 2 sessions at night, like 3 hours a night, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I was looking at your work. Like, you have like really good taste, and like with the muscle girl, like with the highlights in the hair and like the nose rings and like the bleached shirt. Like, do you check out like fashion design magazines, or like how do you like develop that taste that you have?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll take it, dude. I don't look at fashion magazines anymore. I do everything online, although I do think that's cool. I have Pinterest boards full of random stuff. And that was, to me, that was the signal that maybe I can just trust myself more. And I think the answer is probably just time. To me, like what taste is and what style is, to me, I think it's just, if it's more natural, it's just something that happens like you've developed opinions and you keep developing opinions for so long that you get to a place where you're like, you just know, I like this, I don't like this. And then when you make stuff, other people say it's your style. And I'm like, okay, but it's just, I just like this. I can't tell you why exactly. I just like this, I don't like this. And I think that's how you get people like Tarantino or something. He has a very strong style, quote unquote. But when he talks about it, he's just like, I like this. I like these types of movies. I like this type of camera. I like this type of blood, whatever. And it just amounts to the style. So for that one, I had a big mood board of things that I liked, and I didn't think too hard about it. And I honestly try to get back to that space more often. I didn't know I was going to make my most popular work when I did it. I was just trying to make something in a couple weeks. And it was a good creative time where I wasn't overthinking it and I wasn't stressing at all. It was fun. And the fact that it ended up getting a good engagement was like, to me, a really good thing that happened to me, I think, because it gave me more permission. Because I wouldn't say I'm a character designer, but I just made up some stuff that I like. It resonated with people. And I was like, yeah, I should do more of that. If I can try to intentionally not have that pressure again. Because you sit down, you're like, what's the coolest thing I'm going to do? It's debilitating. So anyways, with that one, I just trusted my gut and it worked out.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you for the talk.
For sure.
So I think one of the things that a lot of students, and well, me included, struggle with is like burnout and overworking and all that.
Yeah.
And I know that you have your job and then you do personal work and social media and stuff like that, which I feel like, I don't know, it's a lot of work. So I was wondering if you had any like advice or strategies to like deal with all that work but still be like mentally and physically well, so you can keep that train going, like you said.
Yeah. I think it's a good question. I think it's a really important just topic in general for people to take really seriously. Like I mentioned, I'm slow, and I'm okay with that. The short answer is balance, finding the balance that works for you. And for me, it got easier as I got older. It got easier as I had kids. Ironically, people are like, "Aren't you way more busy?" But when you have kids, like the stuff that you used to think are like super important is just not as important anymore. And so, now, I just spend a couple hours a night, most nights. 2 to 3 hours a night. It's my hobby. Other people play games or something. I don't know what people do. I just sit at my desk and I'm just chronically online at night, and I sculpt and I make stuff. And so that's why I say like 1 or 2 things a year I make, 3 things a year. And now with my class, I could hire an editor to help me make videos. And yeah, so I just found a balance that works for me. And so it's kind of a little bit of a vacation, honestly. I look forward to it at night. And again, I don't put a deadline on myself. I just enjoy doing it. And at work is where I have the deadlines. But it really helps me. It really helps me. Just this goes to people that end up getting jobs. Something else I stress is to try and find a way to keep doing personal work. Again, in a way that works for you. I don't know. It's not that mine works for everybody, but if you can keep doing personal work, to me, it actually made the burnout less, the anxiety less. My job at work became easier. Also because you're practicing, but because I became emotionally detached. Like my satisfaction doesn't come from what I accomplish at work. Because at work, you don't have control over everything. And, like I worked, the first 6 years that I worked in the industry, nothing I made came out. And it was kind of like mentally tough to like put your best stuff in there. So anyways, personal work became an outlet to do stuff for myself. And then at work, it's like, all right, you want this? Here you go. And if whatever they do with it, that's their thing. I just think I'm getting better. I'm practicing so I could do my stuff. So yeah, ultimately, I just think finding a balance that works for you. And I tell people, if you could do at least 2 hours a day for most days, it's kind of like exercise. If you can just do most days for like this, then I think that's enough to get better. You just do it brick by brick. So over time, it looks like, people tell me that you must be busy all the time. I'm not. It's just, it looks that way when it's all built up and you're looking backwards.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
My question is, you talked a little bit about targeting your dream job and kind of looking for research, doing your research basically.
Yeah.
And what would you recommend beyond like looking at job postings in terms of doing your research, and how would you go about that at this point in the game? You could, I could tell you, okay. I feel like I'm exposing myself here, but here we go. I can just reach out now, I'm lucky, but I'll tell you the time that it didn't work out and then what I did. Marvel Rivals came out, and I just became enamored with their art style. I was like, this is it, what's going on? This is what people should be doing. And I just kept looking at it, and I was like, damn. And I was asking my people, like I was asking around, like, do you know anybody that worked on this game? Do you know anybody that worked on this game? And yeah, they're keeping them secret. Although recently I saw on YouTube they're making a series where they're going to share their own stuff, which is cool. But anyways, I couldn't find anybody, and then I reached out to someone I know who's really good at sleuthing, and I was like, can you find these models, And she's like, oh yeah, it's Unreal Engine game. It's already ripped. And so I downloaded the models, and I downloaded the textures, and I looked at them. And I was like, oh shit, and I learned a lot. I mean, I learned that they weren't PBR. They had a mask texture, which I assume was for their special abilities, and it was cool. It was cool to see how they made it. You could see the poly count. I could see, you know, how they're, anyways. And I did that for the same kind of reasons. I was like, what if I tried to make a character like this? Then I have like, you know, a blueprint. I can see like how they did it, how they UV mapped it. And people have done that with any Unreal Engine game. I didn't do it, I'm just putting it out there. That is what's happening. If there's an Unreal Engine game, people rip it. And so even like Senua and Senua Saga, that got ripped, and they opened it at Maya, and it was like 700,000 triangles. And so that spread around when we were like, what? Yeah, like all of her little fibers are modeled and everything. Other than that, though, there's like, you know, like God of War. A lot of people love God of War. They did a talk here, right? I think they did here. And yeah, so they did an awesome talk on YouTube. They show wireframes and everything. That was gold. It's a little bit, it's kind of crazy. It's like years later, right? That was God of War 2018. So they were showing you how they did the costumes, and you're like, damn, that was 5 years ago. Shit, that means it's even crazier now. So yeah, anyways, like that. Publicly available stuff or the internet is how I would find out. Yeah.
We have time for one more question. So if anybody has a question? Okay, so this is the last one.
Hi.
Hi.
If you could go back to the beginning of your career, would you do anything differently?
Oh, man, hit me one of those tough questions. It feels like an interview question. You know, I am inclined, it's kind of a cop-out. Maybe I can come up with another answer, an alternate timeline answer, but I'm just so happy with everything in my life right now. You know, I feel bad messing with the space-time continuum. But I would say I had the darkest time. It wasn't that bad, but I had a time where I lived on my own. I was working at a bigger studio, and I felt a little bit underwater. I wasn't enjoying it, and I felt overwhelmed, and I found it hard to start personal projects. You know, I was probably depressed about it or something. It was just like a lot. It felt like a lot. The job felt like a lot. But anyway, I ended up finding a way to make it balance out. So again, I don't think I would change anything, but it would be cool to tell that person, like, yo, chill out, dude. It's like 3D modeling, not a big deal. And if you do, that's the thing, that's what I say about balance, because if you do find a way to, and this is so much easier said than done, if you can either find joy again if you don't have it, or keep the joy you have, because if you're here, it's because you think it's interesting and cool. If you can have fun and enjoy the actual your butt in the chair part, that's the golden ticket. A lot of people don't. It can be a grind. And if you think of it that way, if you think of it like it's work, then that can debilitate you. But if you can just do it for fun, then it kind of naturally helps solve the other problems you have in a way.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming and sharing the wisdom. And I want to wrap up. And the last thing I want to mention is that we actually have another event next week, June 13th. And we're going to have Nick Cosme from Digital Domain talking about texturing in the Electric State, a new film with Chris Pratt that is on Netflix if you haven't seen it. So do come by, and thank you so much, Jay. And
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.